Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Damme and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I want to tell you all about the new Netflix original, El Camino. Now this is going to be a spoiler-free review, but I am going to remind you of a couple of things you need to remember from the series, and then I'm going to tell you just how well this works as a movie, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, without giving away any of the key plot points. Now for starters, this actually starts off with a 3.5-minute recap that you can skip. There's a skip button on Netflix. I recommend it. It covers just the high points. Certainly does not cover everything you need to know to remember everything that's going on in the story. It's also good to know that the original writer and creator of the show, Vince Gilligan, wrote and directed this movie. Now, I use that term a little bit loosely because to me, this really was not quite a movie. To me, it really felt like more like 2 follow-up episodes. The good news for Breaking Bad fans is that this does feel like Breaking Bad. It's great in that respect, and the only reason I don't really call it a movie is because it feels so much like the show. It's shot very much like the show, and this certainly could not stand alone without the show. It very much is just a continuation and would make no sense out of context to the show. And Netflix is notorious for sort of using the word movie and film pretty loosely, but still a really great project. I was ultimately really happy with it, and I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad. I think it's one of the best shows ever made. It's certainly one of the best written shows. It circles back on things really well, and then also when you think something's going in one direction, Vince Gilligan is just infamous for like throwing a monkey wrench in the plans, and that happens time and time again. No matter how much I've seen his work, he still manages to surprise me, and he surprised me multiple times in El Camino. Now to me, the series ended perfectly. It wrapped up almost everything except for Jesse's story, which is why I think this is so great. Now, the reason I'm doubling back on the series now is because I do think it ended perfectly. I thought it was a great ending. I was happy with it at the time. But now that so much time has gone by, about 6 years, I think enough time has gone by that it's kind of interesting and intriguing to revisit this story, or at least Jesse's story. And to me, while I know Walter White was the biggest, character on the show, certainly everybody's favorite, Jesse, I think, had the more interesting character arc because he had a bunch of them. He kept changing and evolving throughout the show. He really started off as this punk kid meth dealer, and Jesse, had the most sort of struggles with the morality of everything that they were doing, and he really yo-yoed up and down. Now, Jesse himself is a really sympathetic character, which I always found to be sort of this tricky thing with Breaking Bad because he's a criminal. Not only is he a criminal, he's responsible for cooking meth that definitely went on to destroy many, many lives. But the writing did such a good job of making him sympathetic, largely because he pays his debt over and over and over again. He's paying for his sins. People very close to him die over and over and over again on the show. And so by the time we catch up to El Camino, he's been imprisoned and tortured and beaten and scarred physically and emotionally for, I think, about 6 months. He was in this cell, and the last thing we see of him is him just driving off in an El Camino. Now, one thing this movie started to do that I was not happy with was flashbacks. I feel like we already lived through all that. I want to progress forward. However, the flashbacks ended up being really great. They focus a lot on the character that Jesse Plemons played, and I think he's an amazing actor. He did a great job in the show and an even better job in this movie. And all the flashbacks that they show end up being relevant to the decisions that Pinkman is making going forward in the story of El Camino. But at the beginning, we see just a completely broken Jesse. He's suffering from like severe PTSD. We get to see Skinny Pete and Badger, 2 characters I really liked. In fact, Skinny Pete's one of my favorite ancillary characters from the show. There's some new characters that pop up that I thought just fit into the puzzle of Breaking Bad really well. It all felt like a continuation and didn't feel like this like tacked on thing, which would have been a mistake. Like that would have been a problem, and it's not the case with El Camino. And naturally, Aaron Paul does a really great job as Jesse. I don't know if it's just that he's just that great of an actor, or if this is just like the perfect role for him, but he does such a great job of embodying this character, and really brings this character to life, and does a great job of communicating and emoting a lot of things without having to speak much. We know what's on Jesse's mind a lot of the time just from Aaron Paul's performance without dialogue. Even though there is great dialogue in El Camino, there are a lot of sequences where Jesse is alone and you really get a feel for what he's going through. And it's a surprise to me that Aaron Paul hasn't become a bigger movie star in the way that Bryan Cranston has. I thought both of them were destined for kind of the same things, and we've seen Aaron Paul's movie career sort of waffle. Maybe this will help sort of revive it, because I think not only did he kill it, but the whole cast did. My recommendation for this movie is to, I don't want to say don't have high expectations. Don't have expectations of there being this epic story. This is just a continuation to wrap up the loose end that is Jesse Pinkman. And if you go into it with just that expectation, I thought it delivered really, really well. If you liked El Camino, let me know in the comments below. Take just a quick minute to thank the Patreon supporters. Here are all of their names on this sort of quickie review. If you're new here and you like movie reviews and movie recommendations, especially for stuff on Netflix, be sure to click that subscribe button and click the little bell icon. But I will keep making videos like this as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking this episode out, and you will see me on the next one.